Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Rottama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4 Chapter 22 verse 59 Dharmarad iva शिक्षायाम् आश्चर्ये हिमवानिव कुबेरैविकोषाढ्यो गुप्तार्थो वरुणो यथा. Maharaja Prithu's intelligence and education were exactly like that of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. His opulence was compared to the Himalaya mountains, where all valuable jewels and metals are stocked. He possessed great riches like Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets, and no one could reveal his secrets, for they were like the demigod Varunas. Yamaraja has to judge the criminal living entities who have committed sinful activities throughout their lives. Consequently, Yamaraja is expected to be most expert in judicial matters. Prthu was also highly learned, exceedingly exact in delivering his judgment upon the citizens. No one could excel him in opulence any more than estimate the stock of minerals and jewels in Himalaya mountains. Therefore, he is compared to Kubera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets. Nor could anyone discover the secrets of his life any more than learn the secrets of Varuna, the demigod presiding over the water, the night, and the western sky. Varuna is omniscient, and since he punishes sins, he is prayed for too for forgiveness. He is also the sender of disease and is often associated with Mitra and Indra. So Varuna has multiple portfolio. Varuna is the demigod presiding over the water, the night also, the western sky. Varuna is omniscient, and since he punishes sins, he also punishes sins. He is prayed to for forgiveness, punishes sins. He is also the sender of disease and is often associated with Mitra and Indra. Ah, Mitra is the god of death. Varuna punishes sins. Okay. मातरिष्वेव सर्वात्मा बलेना महसौजसा विषह्यतया देवो भगवान भूतराडिवा. In his bodily strength and in the strength of his senses, Maharaja Prithu was as strong as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. As far as his intolerance was concerned, he was just like the all-powerful Rudra expansion of Lord Shiva. So Rudra expansion is the uh, intolerance, ready to destroy. कंदर्प इव सौंदर्ये मनस्वी मृगराड इव वात्सल्ये मनुवन्द्रणाम प्रभुत्वे भगवान अजः. In his bodily beauty, he was just like Cupid, and in his thoughtfulness, he was like a lion. In his affection, he was just like Swayambhuva Manu, and in his ability to control, he was like Lord Brahma. Brihaspati'r Brahmavade Atmavatve Swayam Harihi Bhaktyago Guru Vipreshu Vishwaksenanuvartishu Riya Prashraya Shilabhyam Atmatulya Parodyame. In his personal behavior, he exhibited all good qualities, and in spiritual knowledge, he was exactly like Brihaspati. In self-control, he was like Supreme Person of Godhead himself. As far as his devotional service was concerned, he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to co-protection and the rendering of all service. to the spiritual master and the Brahmanas. See, as far as this great devotional service was concerned, it could have been said that he was a great devotee, but it is being said that he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to cow protection and rendering service to the spiritual master and the Brahmanas. He was perfect in his shyness and in his gentle behavior. And when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he were working for his own personal self. Shyness, gentle behavior. Again, the shyness, gentle behavior, everything is in connection with to self. So when a Vaishnava or Vishnu, anything connected is like Hanuman, right? He was gentle in behavior, but he destroyed the city of Lanka. With respect to ourselves, we should be gentle. Meaning, when somebody is dealing with us, Tranada Pisunichana. When it is about other devotees, Krishna, ISKCON, etc., then we become like Hanuman if required. When Lord Chaitanya talked to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord honored him as the incarnation of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the chief priest of the heavenly kingdom. And he is a follower of the philosophy known as Brahmavada or Mayavada. Brihaspati is also a great logician. It appears from this statement that Maharaja Prthu, although a great devotee, constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord, could defeat all kinds of impersonalists and Mayavadis by his profound knowledge of Vedic scriptures. We should learn from Maharaja Prthu that a Vaishnava or a devotee must not only be fixed in the service of the Lord, but if required, must be prepared to argue with the impersonalist Mayavadis with all logic and philosophy and defeat their contention that the absolute truth is impersonal. So many arguments are there against this impersonal Mayavad. So devotees should not only be fixed in service, but also, of course, Uttama Adhikaris can do this. Kanishta absolutely cannot, Madhyama to some extent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ideal self-controller or brahmachari. When Krishna was elected to be president of the Rajasuya Yagna performed by Maharaja Yudhishthira, grandfather Bhishma Dev praised Lord Krishna as the greatest brahmachari. Because grandfather Bhishma Dev was a brahmachari, he was quite fit to distinguish a brahmachari from a vyabhichari, which is what most people think about Krishna, that he is a vyabhichari. Although Prthu Maharaj was a householder and father of 5 children, he was still considered to be most controlled. So it's not like brahmachari means somebody who is not married. Anybody who is self-controlled with respect to their sexual desire is also brahmachari, even if he is married. One who begets Krishna conscious children for the benefit of humanity is actually a brahmachari. One who simply begets children like cats and dogs is not a proper father. The word brahmachari also refers to one who acts on the platform of Brahman or devotional service. Of course, somebody who is acting on the platform of Brahman also means Brahmabhuta, meaning not attached to the body and things connected to the body. Na sochati na kankshati. Then mad bhaktim labhate param. So then he also gets pure devotion. In the impersonal Brahman conception, there is no activity. Yet, when one performs activities in connection with the Supreme Lord, he is to be known as Brahmachari. Thus, Prthu Maharaj was an ideal Brahmachari and Grihastha simultaneously. So, this is what is expected of all Grihastha Vaishnavas. And that we have to be self-controlled and we have to be a devotee at the same time. Vishwaksenanu refers to those who are devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Other devotees must follow in their footsteps. So who are constantly engaged. Srila Narottama Das Thakur said, E Chai Gosai Yara Mui Tara Das. I am prepared to become the disciple of anyone who follows in the footsteps of the Echai. Echai, Choi. Choi means 6. Echai Gosai Yara. Mui Tara Das. So whoever follows in his footsteps, Mui, I am Taradas, I am their servant. I am prepared to become their disciple. Also, like all Vaishnavas, Maharaja Prthu was devoted to cow protection, spiritual masters, and qualified brahmanas. So far, this is the word qualified. Prthu Maharaj was also very humble, meek, and gentle, and whenever he performed any philanthropic work, or welfare activity for the general public, he would labor exactly as if as if he were tending to his own personal necessities. Uh, People are so self-centered, uh, but Maharaja Prabhu is showing that if we do anything for anybody, we should take same amount of labor, same amount of interest, as if it were our own. In other words, his philanthropic activities were not for the sake of show, but were performed out of personal feeling and commitment. Of course, even though there is personal feeling and commitment, there is no attachment. This is so amazing quality, right? Sometimes we think, oh, I have to take others' situations also like my own, then we become attached. No, it's just from a perspective or from a consideration of commitment and effort that we put. We should take it like ours, like our own, as much interest as we would have for our own activities. But we should still not be attached. All philanthropic activities should be thus performed. Mm. And not only philanthropic activities. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that way they're philanthropic, but generally we should, and that is what our acharyas have shown, that we should have compassion for other jivas. Just like we show compassion for our own individual self, we should also show compassion for other jivas. That is the highest philanthropic activity. So important thing here is brahmachari, being a brahmachari. Yeah. And yeah, we talk about this one pastime comes to mind, right? So uh, Durvasa Muni is considered one of the gurus of Krishna. So he would have come to near Vrindavan, and then gopis and Radharani and gopis, they want to serve Durvasa Muni, but they're on the other side of the Yamuna. So then they ask um, Krishna, we want to cross the Yamuna. What can we do? Then Krishna says, okay, just tell that Durvasa Muni doesn't eat anything at all. Right. Uh, mm, or when they return. Okay, no, actually when they're going, I think Krishna says, you tell Yamuna that Krishna is a brahmachari. Um, so then all the gopis laugh. Krishna, you're a brahmachari? Uh, how is it possible? Not possible. Krishna said, see, if whatever I'm saying is not true, then Yamuna will not give you way. If it is true, only then she'll give you way. So then the gopis and Radharani go to Yamuna and say, okay, Krishna is a brahmachari, and Yamuna gives way. So like that. So we should understand whatever Krishna does, externally it might look hmm, like sense gratification because we are in that mode of kama. But Krishna actually does everything just to reciprocate with his loving devotees. Everything that he does, right, is just to reciprocate. And that's why he tells to gopis saying that I can't reciprocate. You have to be satisfied by your own good activities. I can't reciprocate. I fail. I said, ye yatha mam prapadyante. Uh, I reciprocate. I have given that word, but I'm not able to with you. Mm. So we should. That is why Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. Understanding Krishna, real transcendental position is very very difficult. Is very important. Takes a lot of effort. Takes a lot of purity. Takes a lot of submission. Only then we can actually understand Krishna. And even more difficult is to understand gopis, Radharani. So difficult. Mm. So that is why we are still, yeah, we are core of Krishna consciousness, right? Especially Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is to enter into these topics, but we are still materially stuck. We are far from those topics. That is actually understanding Krishna in reality. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. Tattvataha means not in truth. He translates it as in sweetness, to understand Krishna's sweetness. Mm. So to understand Krishna's sweetness, we have to go past. The stage of thinking of Krishna as um, Aishwarya, Audarya, Aishwarya, right? Like, okay, he's supreme controller, he's the supreme god. We have to go past that stage. Mm. Only then we can come to his sweetness. It's a long way to go. Yeah, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a doubt. So it is mentioned about Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, who is the incarnation of
Brihaspati.
Brihaspati, right?
Mm.
So when we say that Brihaspati, he was a impersonalist Mayavadi, that is a little difficult to understand because Brihaspati is a guru of Indra, right? And
Mm.
Indra and all the devotees, they keep going to Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu in the Kshir Sagar. So how come he was a impersonalist and that too Mayavadi? And also, I want to know, Prabhu, because I thought impersonalist is a
Yeah,
category of devotees who realize God in the Brahmajyoti form.
correct, correct.
Mayavadis are different. So, what is the meaning of impersonalist Mayavadi?
No, impersonal. Mayavadi means he's definitely an impersonalist because he doesn't believe that uh, he just he only accepts the Brahman conception as the highest, but he's also thinking that the forms that the Lord takes is made of Maya. So that is why he's an impersonalist and he's also a Mayavadi. Impersonalist doesn't have to be a Mayavadi. Till he like all the Kumaras, they were impersonalists till they came to. So we call them monists. Otherwise, Prabhupada calls them monists. Who are just stuck with Brahman, but that's just because they have not come forward. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti. So they're just stuck in Brahman. So they're called impersonalists because they just don't know about the personal form of the Lord. But when they say that no, Lord, whatever form He takes is made of Maya, it's temporary form, then they become Mayavadis. So yeah, this I don't know. I'm not so well read to understand why Prabhupada is saying calling Brihaspati as Brahmavada. Brahmavada we could have still maybe understood. Mayavada is even more difficult to understand. So I don't know. I don't know if any other devotees have heard anything about this. You can share.
So when we say Mayavadi, so basically, it is indication that he believed that Lord's form is Maik, like he is
Hmm.
not the supreme personality, but so
Yeah.
basically Maya has taken the form of the Lord, and then
No, it's Maya. It's temporary. That's all.
okay,
The form of the blood is temporary. It's made of these material elements.
okay.
Okay. कीर्त्योर्ध्वगीतया पुंभिस्त्रैलोक्ये तत्र तत्रः प्रविष्टः कर्णरन्ध्रेषु स्त्रीणां रामः सताम् इव. Through the whole universe, in the higher, lower, and middle planetary systems, Prthu Maharaj's reputation was loudly declared, and all ladies and saintly persons heard his glories, which were as sweet as the glories of Lord Ramachandra. In this verse, the words Trinam and Ramaha are significant. It is the practice amongst ladies to hear and enjoy the praises of certain heroes. From this verse, it appears that Maharaja Pruthu's reputation was so great that ladies all over the universe would hear of it with great pleasure. At the same time, his glories were heard all over the universe by the devotees, and they were as pleasing as Lord Ramachandra's glories. Lord Ramachandra's kingdom is still existing, and recently there's a political party in India named the Ramaraja Party, which wanted to establish a kingdom resembling the kingdom of Rama. Unfortunately, modern politicians want the kingdom of Rama without Rama himself. Although they have banished the idea of God consciousness, they still expect to establish the kingdom of Rama. Such a proposal is rejected by devotees. Prthu Maharaja's reputation was heard by saintly persons because he exactly represented Lord Ramachandra, the ideal king. Okay, so nothing much to say with this. We end chapter 22. Prthu Maharaja's meeting with the four Kumaras. Okay, I think this we won't read. Uh, or we can read some important verses. Yes. Mhm. Mm. Okay, we'll just read through and see if there's anything important. At the last stage of his life, when Maharaja Pruthu saw himself getting old, that great soul, who was king of the world, divided whatever opulence he had accumulated amongst all kinds of living entities, moving and non-moving, and divided whatever opulence amongst all kinds of living entities. He arranged pensions for everyone according to religious principles, and after executing the orders of the Supreme Lord in complete coordination with him, he dedicated his sons unto the earth, which was considered to be his daughter. Then Maharaja Prithu left the presence of his citizens, who were almost lamenting and crying from feeling separation from the king, and went to the forest alone with his wife to perform austerities. So, like we keep saying, we have to give up this material association. Maharaja Prithu was one of the Shaktyavesha incarnations of Supreme Lord, and as such, he appeared on the surface of the earth to execute the orders of the Supreme. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of all planets and is always anxious to see that in each and every planet the living entities are happily living. Lord is anxious about this and executing their duties. As soon as there is some discrepancy in execution of duties, Lord appears. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata. Since there were so many discrepancies during the reign of King Vena, the Lord sent his most confidential devotee, Maharaja Prithu, to settle things. So because he is a Shaktya so we must understand that he is a great devotee. That's why Lord sent him. So he is not the Supreme Lord himself. Thereafter, after executing the orders of the Supreme Lord and settling affairs of the world, Prithu was ready to retire. He had been exemplary in his governmental administration, and now he was to become exemplary in his retirement. He divided all his property amongst his sons and appointed them to rule the world, and then he went to forest with his wife. It is significant in this connection that it is said that Maharaja Prithu retired alone and at the same time took his wife with him. According to Vedic principles, when retiring from family life, one can take his wife with him, for the husband and wife are considered to be one unit. Thus, they both combinedly performed austerities for liberation. Of course, in elsewhere in Vanaprastha, description of Vanaprastha, it is said that they can be together but with no contact, basically, right? I mean, they're just engaging, helping each other in devotional service. That's all. Thus, they both combinedly performed austerities for liberation. This is the path that Maharaja Prithu, who was an exemplary character, followed. And this is also the way of Vedic civilization. So we have to give up these material connections. This is cutting off material connections, right? Like going to the forest. One should not simply remain at home until the time of death, but should separate from family life at a timely moment and prepare himself to go back to Godhead. Now, yeah, I mean, these kind of statements are so clear, and Prabhupada repeats these multiple times, but somehow still devotees don't take these things very seriously. As the Shaktyavesha incarnation of God who had actually come from Vaikuntha as a representative of Krishna, Maharaja Prithu was certain to go back to Godhead. Nonetheless, in order to set the example in all ways, he also underwent severe austerities in the Tapovana. It appears that in those days there were many Tapovanas or forests especially meant for retirement and practice of austerities. Of course, for us it is Vrindavan, Mayapur. Hmm. Indeed, it was compulsory for everyone to go to the Tapovana to fully accept the shelter of the Supreme Lord. For it is very difficult to retire from family life and at the same time remain alone, remain at home. Mm. The same time remain at home. You can't retire from family life and remain at home. So you have to go. So husband and wife need to leave. Just Prabhupada elsewhere says that if husband and wife are living by themselves, then they should leave their house locked, go to uh, Vrindavan or Mayapur, be there for 2 months, then again come back for 2 months, then again go for 2 months. Like this, they have to get used to going away from their home, so-called home, because there's attachment to home. So slowly it has to keep on, we have to keep on increasing. So 2 months, then 3 months, then we return for 1 month, then 4 months, then we return for half a month, like that. And finally, we don't return at all. We just remain there. And of course, if somebody is staying with their family, with children, etc., they have to first leave that, at least, and go. And yeah, in such a family life, going and coming back means again for temporarily attached, again detached for a long time, again temporarily attached till they become free from that attachment. But if we continue to remain in family life, remain amongst family members, then there's no way, right? And Prabhupada is saying that one should separate at a timely moment from family life. Should separate. There is no may separate. If they want, they can separate. No, we should separate. If you want Krishna, and if you want to prepare ourselves to go back to God, then we have to separate from family. Otherwise, this family things keep going on. No end to it. After retiring from family life, Maharaja Prthu strictly followed the regulations of retired life and underwent severe austerities in the forest. He engaged in these activities as seriously as he had formerly engaged in leading the government and conquering everyone. See, this is the beauty. So when we are doing devotional service, we have to be as serious as we were when we were earning or for some material benefit we were working. We have to be as serious. In fact, we have to be more serious. As it is necessary for one to become very active in family life. Similarly, after retirement from family life, not from work, retirement from family life, it is necessary to control the mind and senses. This is possible when one engages himself fully in the devotional service of the Lord. Actually, the whole purpose of Vedic system is to enable one to ultimately return home back to God. The Grihastha Ashrama is a sort of concession, combining sense gratification with a regulative life. See this? So clear. Regulative life combined with sense gratification, regulated sense gratification. It is to enable one to easily retire in the middle of life, meaning 50 years, and engage fully in austerities in order to transcend material sense gratification once and for all. So this is just a stepping stone. It is an enabler for vanaprastha. Therefore, in the vanaprastha stage of life, tapasya or austerity is strongly recommended. So vanaprastha means tapasya. Maharaja Prthu followed exactly all the rules of vanaprastha, which is technically known as Vaikhanasa ashrama. The word Vaikhanasa, Susammate, is significant because in vanaprastha life, regulative principles are also to be strictly followed. In Grihastha only we have to follow, but in vanaprastha it is even more stricter. In other words, Maharaja Prthu was an ideal character in every sphere of life, and this is what we have to become as devotees. We have to be ideal. When we are doing our duties, we have to be ideal. I won't say when we are working, because when you're working, we have to be ideal means we will think, okay, I have to compete with other karmis. No. In doing our duties, we should be ideal. In doing bhakti, we should be ideal. In retirement, we should be ideal. In whatever services we take, we should be ideal. Mahajano yena gatassa pantaha. One should follow in the footsteps of great personalities. Thus, by following the exemplary character of Maharaja Prthu, one can become perfect in all respects while living this life or while retiring from active life. Thus, after giving up this body, one can become liberated and go back to God. The whole idea is to be serious. Be serious in our bhakti. That is important, right? And time to time follow the Varnashrama guidelines, because that's what is very important. If we drop that, then we won't know why we are not making progress. And the reason will be some form of material attachment, inevitably. So we have to be clear, set our targets very clearly. Uh, all youngsters should see, have some desire for their future life, cutting off grasta, entering vanaprastha, and even otherwise for everybody to seriously practice bhakti even now and subsequently, and we have to plan to retire from family life. So all these things are important. In the Tapovana, Maharaja Prithu sometimes ate trunks and roots of trees, sometimes he ate fruit and dried leaves, and for some weeks he drank only water. Finally, he lived simply by breathing air. This is another thing we have been discussing, right? As we age, as we make progress in Krishna conscious, both ways, we should our eating food habits should become very controlled. In Bhagavad Gita, yogis are advised to go to a secluded place in the forest and live alone in sanctified spot there. By Prthu Maharaj's behavior, we can understand that when he went to the forest, he did not eat any cooked food sent from the city by some devotees or disciples. As soon as one takes a vow to live in the forest, he must simply eat roots, trees, trunks, fruits, dried leaves, or whatever nature provides. Prthu strictly adopted these principles for living in the forest, and sometimes he ate nothing but dried leaves and drank nothing but a little water. Sometimes he lived on nothing but air, and sometimes he ate some fruit from the trees. In this way, he lived in the forest and underwent severe austerity, especially in regards to eating. In other words, overeating is not at all recommended for one who wants to progress in spiritual life. Atyahara prayasascha. Atyahara. Too much eating against the principles by which one can advance in spiritual life. Shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita. It is also notable that according to Vedic injunction, to live in the forest is to live in the mode of complete goodness, whereas to live in the city is mode of passion, live in a brothel or drinking house is the mode of ignorance. However, to live in a temple is to live in Vaikunta. This Krishna consciousness movement affords one the opportunity to live in the temple of the Lord, which is as good as Vaikunta. Consequently, a Krishna conscious person does not need to go to the forest and artificially try to imitate Maharaja Prthu or the great sages and munis who used to live in the forest. But we should live in Vaikunta. Not that we just live in a house and just go on with material life. Yeah, okay, live in a house which is in the temple, then it's fine. But we have to live like we are living in Vaikunta. Srila Rupa Goswami, after retiring from his minister's seat, went to Vrindavan and lived beneath a tree like Maharaja Prithu. Since then, many people have gone to Vrindavan to imitate Rupa Goswami's behavior. Instead of advancing in spiritual life, they may have fallen into material habits and even in Vrindavan have become victims of illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. The Krishna consciousness movement has been introduced in the Western countries, but it is not possible for Westerners to go to the forest and practice severe austerities, which were ideally practiced by Prthu Maharaj or Rupa Goswami. However, Westerners or anyone else can follow in the footsteps of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur by living in a temple, which is transcendental to residence in a forest, and to vow to accept Krishna Prasad and nothing else, follow the regulative principles, chant 16 rounds daily. In this way, one's spiritual life will never be disturbed. And of course, when all these things are being said, there's no question of material activities here. Meaning, live a completely Krishna conscious life, purely Krishna conscious life. Then spiritual life will never be disturbed and we can achieve perfection. Okay, I'll stop here. Any questions? Comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
So that so the difference between Vanaprastha and Sannyas is that for Vanaprastha we should basically have a continued exile from for family life, try to do that. And in Sannyasa we have to travel and maybe stay in temple, right?
No,
So
ऐसा नहीं. So Vanaprastha basically means giving up family life as now
yeah.
number one, right? Getting is the process of detachment actually, right? And in Vanaprastha there are two modes. Either one can go into Vanaprastha with wife or without wife. Mm, mm, Generally, Prabhupada says wife is a devotee, then both husband and wife can get into Vanaprastha. Sannyasa is complete disconnecting from uh, everybody, including wife, including society, giving up position, giving up property, giving up everything. In Vanaprastha, you can still have things in your name, etc. Right? But in Sannyasa, you just become a non-existent socially. Social suicide. That's what Prabhupada says. Sannyasa means social suicide, meaning complete disconnection, complete destroying everything that connects you to this society, and
Hmm.
completely living. Sannyas also means life of sacrifice, giving up everything, taking up severe austerities. Then one has to be well read. You should know the Shastra. You should then preach, mm, etc. Vanaprastha, yeah, if somebody has the ability to preach, they can preach. But the whole idea of Vanaprastha is to actually disconnect. from material attachment.
Yeah. So should a Grasta also plan for sannyasa even after
You can't
Vanaprastha?
plan. If you are qualified, then it will happen. You can't
But
plan for
that
sannyasa.
desire, but that desire should be there from Grasta life only,
Yeah,
right?
we can have. See, but for us, we should understand actually in Krishna consciousness, our desire is not so much about a particular ashram as much as dedicating ourselves fully in the service of the Lord. So it's okay if
Hmm.
we don't become sannyasis, but we are like, you know, dedicated our life and completely serving Prabhupada's movement, then yeah, it's not required. But if it becomes an obstacle, if Grihastha life becomes an obstacle, then one should take sannyas.
Hmm.
And sannyas is not recommended. I mean, it's very high, tall order unless somebody is really qualified. Uh, it's difficult.
Yeah. So this Brahman initiation which happens in one that can happen even in Grasta and Vanaprastha stage.
Grahastha, if you are living like a Brahmana, meaning you are not taking a salary, then you can. Of course, this is our His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's conditions. So only if somebody is not earning money, as in taking a salary from somebody, is actually living like a Brahmana, he can get initiated Brahminical. He can get Brahminical initiation, and his activity should be Brahminical. Like mm,
Hmm.
should be preaching, he should be or engaged in deity worship, something like that, right? Not generally, not it's not like some okay, first initiation, then second initiation, not like that. First initiation is only enough to go back to Krishna. Second initiation is not required. Second initiation is actually bringing us into Varnashrama duties. Being a Brahmana means taking up Varnashrama duties, but standing Hare Krishna means Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava
Hmm.
should anyway be have Brahminical qualities,
Yeah.
right? But Prabhupada also said it's not that everybody will have these qualities. So some people might even remain like a Kshatriya or a Vaishya. Now, Kshatriya or a Vaishya doesn't require Brahminical initiation. Um, the Brahminical
Hmm.
initiation was is mainly in Krishna in our movement is for preachers who are having Brahminical activities. The others who don't have Brahminical activities, they don't have to.
Yeah.
And Brahminical activities means living like a Brahmana. Then yeah, obviously take the vows of a Brahmana and follow that vrata, not otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Proji, I think let me share this with all the devotees. So I think His Grace Narayan Padmanabh Prabhu is also going for getting Brahman initiation. This Nityanand Tridashi, right, Prabhu?
Yeah, Krishna willing. Prthu Maharaj, if he wants to give, he'll give.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Shashank Prabhu is also asked a question. According to Vedic civilization, we need to strictly plan for retirement at age of 50. Yeah, like I keep saying in Kali Yuga, maybe 50, 55, but marry your children and wash off your hands. That everybody has to plan. The response to your parents is not with us. Mm, As in, it's there with us, but it doesn't cut us off, or it cannot stop us from dedicating ourselves to Krishna. What stops us from dedicating ourselves to Krishna is children. So children response is finish off. Parents, hopefully by the time we are maybe 55, 60, hopefully the parents' response would have also gone. But if it is still there, then it's okay. We can take care of them as much as possible. Um, but our focus has to be Krishna conscious, not material activity.
Yes, Prabhu. Clear.
Yeah, Shashank Prabhu asked that question. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. Anything else? Yeah, Vamshi Prabhu.
Oh, I'm just thinking like uh, you were mentioning about some of the samskaras, what we have to do, and also telling this to as many people as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the similar lines, I'm just trying to think aloud that should we also propagate or preach about all of this basics to devotee families? Uh, right? So like it can be much more easy if everybody is aware that this is what is important and this is how we have to live and lead life. The reason is,
Uh,
I'm just thinking aloud, family where some of them are devotees and some of them are non-devotees, uh, probably the lens what they see is very different, the non-devotees, right? So
mhm,
when we say this is how we have to live, this is what we have to do,
mhm.
as simple as I'm just trying to think aloud about the parents' responsibility, right? So what you mentioned. So if they are independent, we should not be worried about it, right? So
Oh yeah, we should not be worried. If they are managing things themselves, as long as they need, if they need our help, actually we should encourage them also to remain, to go to Vanaprastha, to leave their house and keep traveling, as long as they are able to take care of their expenses and health, and etc.
Mhm.
See, the whole idea is that we should encourage everybody to remain in Krishna consciousness, right? Not we don't want to create bondage, like I mean, yeah, yeah. Sometimes parents come and then there are children, grandchildren, and they get attached, and all this is not required. You should focus on
Mm.
bhakti. That's all. Mm. Yeah, we have to tell everybody. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea of Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada's books is telling, it's written for everybody, all devotees, right? But who reads, who takes these things seriously? So yeah, few preachers might talk about it, but then they become unpopular. But yeah, not everybody wants to talk about social structure, social change. Somehow, devotees seem to think that this is external, but I can't understand how our social life or our material life, how we can ignore the instructions given by acharyas and just think that just by doing bhakti everything will become perfect. But we can't do bhakti because we are materially attached. So these things are important. Unfortunately, not many people speak about these things nowadays. Yeah, but we should tell others. We should tell devotees. At least the devotees who are hearing regularly here, they should understand these things clearly, and then they can tell others also.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpataru Kripa Sindhu Bhagavati Dana Pavane Vaishnava Namo Koti Vaishnava ki jai. By the way, just that one thing.